Recording. Is it permissible to do laundry nowadays, Erev Shabbos? We know that we have an enactment that we learned about already yesterday from Ezra Sofer, who enacted that we're not allowed to do laundry on Erev Shabbos, right before Shabbos. And the reason that we've learned is that we should be involved with the preparations of Shabbos. This is something that we already learned about in the past. Just going to pull it up on the screen so that we are reminded about this enactment and we properly understand it. And then we're going to go through some of the research that I've done on this topic. Very insightful research. Shulchan Aruch over here says that it's an enactment from Ezra that the laundry should be done on Thursday in honor of Shabbos. The Magen Avraham says that we shouldn't do laundry on Erev Shabbos, and also in order that we will be involved with the preparations of Shabbos. That's the idea. We'll have time to focus on the preparations of Shabbos. There's a whole discussion exactly, is the idea over here of having clean clothing for Shabbos so that you're involved with the preparations of Shabbos. It seems like it's kind of a little bit of both. But the Magen Avraham is certainly concerned that that a person will have time to be involved with the main preparations of Shabbos. That is clearly on the Magen Avraham's one of his top concerns, and it's clearly on his agenda.
What's he consider the top priority as far as
Obviously, the top priorities are going to be what we learned in Siman Reish Nun, preparing for the food on Shabbos, cutting the nails, showering, etc. All of those halachos, especially with the food preparations, are certainly the most time-consuming, making sure everything is tidy. It's as if a big king is going to be coming into our house. So therefore, we want to make sure that we're not preoccupied and distracted with the laundry. This is the Magen Avraham. This is something that we've already discussed in the past. This is an enactment of Ezra HaSofer, who built the second Beis HaMikdash. Yesterday, we started going through the Dirshu Mishnah Berurah, and they quoted some interesting ideas, and I looked up every single source. And today I'm going to share that adventure that I went through, which was time-consuming, tedious, but yet very rewarding. They start off by quoting the Or L'Tzion. So we're going to go straight into the Or L'Tzion. The way that they quote him is that that's only talking about laundry, that you have to hang the clothing up because you don't have a dryer. That's going to be a burden, and that's going to be time-consuming. Well, Steinberg says as well. However, someone who has a dryer, it's permissible for him to do laundry. However, so let's see the Or L'Tzion first.
You're not saying anything about, there's a difference between a dryer and a laundry machine.
No, he's assuming you have a laundry machine.
But
even so, if you need to hang up your clothing, then that's going to be a problem. I remember years ago when we first bought our house, there was a very old lady on the block. Now she's moved on. The house is already sold. And she still had a line to dry the stuff. That's right. Comes along the Shal's Chuvas Or L'Tzion. Abed Zion Bein Shal. This is in the Chelik Beis, Perek Tazayin. She says, is it permissible to do laundry on Friday, on Erev Shabbos, in a machine? He says you should not be doing it. This refers to both the male and the female gender. Unless you have Machonis Yavush. Unless you have a dryer. In other words, if you have a dryer, according to the Or L'Tzion, it's perfectly permissible to do laundry. And in a pressing situation, for example, he says if Thursday was rainy, and therefore there's assuming that you don't have a dryer, you're unable to hang your clothing outside because it was raining. So then in that case, you're able to do laundry on Friday. In other words, even if you don't have a dryer, if you are unable to do laundry on Thursday for whatever reason or reasons, you're allowed to do it on Friday.
Or Tisha B'Av or Chol Moed is
That's right.
That's right. He's going to say that, something like that?
That's right. Excellent point. That's right. For whatever reason it was. And then he says, children clothing under the age of 5, you could always do laundry for them. Similarly, Thursday night, you're allowed to do laundry. Even if you're doing the laundry by hand and you're drying it by hand. You're hanging it up. Children clothing gets soiled, spit up, poop, urine. Got to do laundry on that. It's fair game always. Down below where he typically goes a little bit of more depth. Oh, well, let's see the O's base. Do you need to do laundry every single week? The enactment of Ezra was to do laundry every single week. However, and we already saw this in the Caf Hachaim, if I'm not mistaken, from the Machazik Beracha, I think it was O's Ches, that you do not need to do, you only need to do laundry on clothing that is going to touch your body, and that gets very schwitzy, sweaty.
But even though you have an
Example,
undershirt,
undergarments.
all your clothing touches your body. Maybe
However, he continues and says, "Michnasayim ba'beged elyon." Your jacket, does this look like it touches my body? No. So that you don't need to wash every single week. My shirt, you don't need to wash it as frequently if it's not
it does
dirty.
touch your body though, but it's okay.
No, it's only touching your neck.
Or your arms, yeah.
Yeah, okay, your arms a little bit. So you have to know your jacket, you don't need to wash all the time. You have to know only when it's dirty. A sweater, a sweater isn't touching any part of your body. You don't need to wash as much, only when they're dirty. AKA, did your kids get it dirty or did you make a mistake and get some food on it or something like that? Right? So you have to know yourself and know your clothing. So when Ezra HaSofer said to do laundry on Thursday, that was only referring to if your clothing is dirty, then to do laundry. Not that you have to do laundry on Thursday. It's just coming to exclude Friday. It's a tremendous amount of insight when it comes to laundry, hashkafas of laundry, and how often we need to do it.
So he's saying at the
Tremendous
end of the day that if you have a washing machine and a dryer, you're
Totally
good to
fine.
go on Friday.
That's right, no matter what.
When can you put your last load in?
You could do it as long as it's before Shabbos. It's got to be done. We're going to learn about this in another simon. Everything has to be totally off when Shabbos comes in.
Yeah.
That means that you can't just put it in the dryer and say it's going to go off automatically in a half an hour. No, it's got to be off. We're going to learn that more in different simon. Good question, though. It's going to come up in different simon. Over here, down below, where he quotes a little bit more depth, he just quotes the Russian Baba Kama on Pei Beis. It says that you got to have clean clothing for Shabbos. Right? And that's the Indian over there. And he says, look, these washing machines that we have doesn't require a lot of time. All you got to do is throw it in, put some detergent in, push a button. Easy schmeezy. However, hanging up the clothing, which is part of the laundry process, that takes time. That you can't do ever Shabbos, unless you have a dryer, in which case it's permissible. It doesn't take as much time. Just throw it from the washing machine into the dryer. I always wondered, they have self-driving cars. They're going to start having already robots, electric planes, all these things, self-driving planes. They can't just make a washer and dryer in one. That's actually...
I think they do. I think there is.
There are, but that are good, so you don't need to take the thing out, put it in a good washer dryer.
They don't have it?
I don't know. Why does no one have it?
I think they do.
It's very hard to...
It's a waste of space.
Practically, it's very hard to do.
I think they do.
It's not that hard. Ridiculous. In 20 years, people are going to laugh. You had two machines taking up that space, a washer and a dryer. All right. Upon him. Then he's mamshech over here. He continues and says like this. Clothing that you regularly do frequently, such as children clothing, right? Just like it's permissible to do that on Chol HaMoed, it's not included in the decree. So over here, in a pressing situation, if you had the rain, you couldn't do it. Thursday, you could do it on Friday, for whatever the reason is. Okay?
So which clothes are you allowed to wash? Are you saying on the 9, was Chol HaMoed and 9 days? Said Chol HaMoed.
And that's right. Kids' clothing. Kids' clothing is fair game. We'll learn more about laundry about 9 days in Chol HaMoed when we learn those halachos.
In the 9 days too, right?
That's right. When we learn about, we're going to learn about it. Now, says that you only need to. The takana is you want to have clean clothing. Therefore, clothing that touches your body, there's an obligation to wash before Shabbos comes in to have clean clothing. However, clothing that will not touch your body. So even though you wear it a few times, there would not be an obligated on that if it is clean to launder that, only if it's dirty. And therefore, begadim el yoinim, outer begadim, outer clothing, garments that are not dirty, you don't need to wash. This is the tshuva of the Or L'Tzion and the big leniency.
Is there an Indian to have like a fresh shirt, you've worn it already on the Caf
If
Hachaim?
it's clean, it's clean. It's fine. Doesn't need to be fresh.
Doesn't need to be fresh.
No, we haven't seen that brought down anywhere.
Okay.
Yep. That is very well five towns idea, so to say.
I'd love to save the money on the dry cleaner.
Yeah,
We
you
have
don't need
do
to.
that.
I don't go to the dry cleaner more than a couple of times a year. That's it. Someone told me who's involved in the business, you really don't need to dry clean a suit more than once or twice a year.
Yeah, as long as it's not creased or whatever.
I grew up, you dry clean it every 3 usages. Look, I grew up in a very spoiled way also. Been in the 5 town my whole life, and
So we haven't seen that idea that you could reuse
Yeah.
shirts that you've worn on a Shabbos shirt that you've worn
it's fine
previously.
as long as it's clean. This is the place where we're going to learn about it. As long as it's clean, let's keep our eyes open and see if we see anything else. We haven't until now.
Ring around the collar. I guess if there's ring around the collar.
If it's dirty, so then you have to clean it. Then you have to clean it if it's dirty. If it's got the brown or black stuff around the collar, that's dirty.
But that because so that would be the covered shop.
Yes, that's dirty. Dirshu then proceeds to quote the sefer called Dror Yikra, who says that no, Rav Elyashiv seems to say otherwise, seems to argue. And he says, Rav Elyashiv says, don't make a difference. Even if you have a washing machine and a dryer, you are not allowed to do laundry on Friday, on Erev Shabbos, even if it's before Chatzos, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. And you have time before Shabbos, you're not allowed to. Ibn Nisim Karelitz says it's prohibited also to do laundry on Friday, since it does take some time. And it will now prevent you from being involved with the preparations of Shabbos, albeit a very small amount. But nevertheless, that will be mamayit, that will decrease the amount of time that one is able to perform the laundry on Erev Shabbos. And therefore, it's prohibited on Erev Shabbos. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says that it's better to do it on Thursday than Friday the laundry, which is implied that if you had a pressing, extenuating circumstance on Thursday and you were unable to do the laundry, then you could do it on Friday. However, even according to his opinion, it's better to do it on Thursday. He brings a very interesting footnote there. There's a new print of the Piskei Teshuvos, remember. So in the old print, he talks about it a little bit more. I didn't look it up, but it seems like that's the explanation because the new print doesn't talk about it. And they quote a lengthy footnote over here about numerous potential issues, B'Shem Reb Nachman Klein, of doing laundry on Friday. One of them is that some places they don't have laundry machines. And therefore, in those places, the enactment isn't null and void, the takana of Ezra. Therefore, you have to keep doing it in all places. Furthermore, there may be the concern that the machine will break, and therefore you're going to need to mess around with fixing it, similar to getting haircuts before Shabbos and the like, which is another discussion of itself. Another reason is the Rambam says that even if they don't have the main reason that applies, nevertheless, it's low plug. The enactment doesn't go out the window. He says that's not true because we have halachos of, we're going to learn some in Reish Mem Tes, walking a certain amount of distance before Shabbos, and nowadays you could do that because we have vehicles that go much faster, so that's not necessarily true. Interesting discussion of itself, when to apply that, when not. Nonetheless, this is the stringent opinions of those rabbis over there, who says that even though we have the washing machines, it wouldn't make any difference. Okay, I didn't look up this Rosh Hashanah Zalman Aruch in the Shemir Shabbos Chasa, and but it's the same exact idea. He wants you to preferably do it on Friday. Children clothing, they quote the heter from the Or L'Tzion, who already said it's fine. You're allowed to do it. Nizim Krelitz, we're going to see, he says if you don't have any other clothing, for sure you could do it. So, and he's going to say even if you have cleaning help, you still can't do it. Low plug. Erev Shabbos. That is this tremendous stringencies of Reb Nisim Karelitz. This is how they present the information in the Dershu. This is how they present the information in the Dershu mission over here, which the way that they are presenting it clearly demonstrates that they're leaning to the side that of not like the Or L'Tzion. They're just quoting him as like one opinion. Maybe Rechaim Steinberg a little bit over there. I don't know why they quote Sham. Maybe it was in the footnote. We just overlooked it. But the idea over here is that they're clearly not liking his approach. The research continues when you start dissecting what it says in the Piskei Teshuvos over here in the footnote and all of his sources. He clearly says otherwise. He starts by saying that the ruling of the Mishnah Berurah, based on many achronim, is that the main enactment of Ezra is that the clothing should be clean for Shabbos. But you shouldn't do it on Erev Shabbos or Erev Yuntif, he adds in order so that you'll be involved with the preparations of Shabbos. So the Shulchan Aruch Rav says, Erev Shabbos and Erev Yuntif are equivalent to one another regarding these halachos, like the Pri Megadim writes in some Tov Kuf Lamed Dalid. That's an important point. So we're also learning the halachos of Erev Yuntif as well. Then here's where things get interesting. This is clearly how he holds leniently. Accordingly, he says, nowadays, Bisvanenu, that the machines do the work and is not a tir de yisera, a big burden, permissible to do the laundry even on Erev Shabbos and Yuntif, in honor of Shabbos and Yuntif. And also, even clothing for after Shabbos is permissible if there's no problem of now you're going to get caught up with it and it's going to now you're going to get caught up with the laundry, and because of that, you're not going to be able to properly be involved with the preparations of honoring Shabbos properly and preparing for Shabbos properly and finishing them when it's still day.
What about when Rosh Chodesh is Sunday, Monday, and you have women typically do the laundry and they don't want to do laundry on Rosh Chodesh?
So then they shouldn't do it. What's the child? That's Hilchos Rosh Chodesh. We learn Hilchos Rosh Chodesh, we'll learn about it. What does that have to do with this? We're learning Hilchos Erev Shabbos.
No, but there's more preparation. There's to do not just Shabbos preparation for the week too, Erev Shabbos. They don't want to do
preparation of the week. That's your own business. We're talking about the Hashem's business. We're talking about preparing for Shabbos over here.
Oh.
Then he says, there's no idea that you should do laundry for covered Shabbos, specifically on Erev Shabbos. The idea is that you have clothing that's clean in the beginning of the week. Some say that it's preferable, if it's possible, without any difficulty, to do laundry on Thursday. You should probably do that, and it's fitting to refrain. You should refrain from doing laundry on Friday. But he clearly holds that you could do it nowadays on Erev Shabbos. Where's he coming from? Let's go through one by one. The Or Letzion, check. We already saw it. When you have a washing machine, Chazan Avaja, Sfardi, I didn't make a PDF on it. Shal Shuvas Avnei Yeshba. See what he says. He asked yesterday who this is. Rabbi Yisrael Pesach, fine handler. It's a recent sefer, like I said. He discussed this idea over here. And he says, since the main enactment is that you should have clean clothing for Shabbos, you can be lenient if you're using a washing machine. Because the clothing gets clean very, very fast and you don't need to worry about it. But you're not going to have clothing on Shabbos. Someone said that even clothing that you don't need for Shabbos is also permissible to do, since you're putting it in a machine. It seems like his reasoning is that when you put it in the machine, now you can be free to do any other activity that you want. Talks about you have to know your clothing. Are you going to be pressing it afterwards? Are you going to be folding it? You have to calculate that time also. But he's lenient. Another sefer. The Dershu did not quote this. Didn't quote the sefer. This is a well-known and accepted Shalos and Shuvah sefer. Dershu failed to present information from the sefer.
When did it come out?
Recently, like I think within the last 20 years.
It's 20.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's recent. I have the set at home.
Is the issue ever quote the Avnei Yeshba?
Think so. Think so. Shalos Shuvah Sheva Kahati. Look, when you research a topic, you understand it. You could make those. Oh, what happened? I ran out of time. I didn't go through this tshuva. Bummer. Okay, I'll do it now. It's a short one. Let's see what he says. Let's cut to the end. Clothing that you need. If you're washing in a machine and you need clothing after Shabbos, you're allowed to even do it on Erev Shabbos. Clothing's gonna be ready for Shabbos. You could do it Erev Shabbos. Machaber to Ghana says you make about Megadim Khamish Shabbos make cover Shabbos via the Machazik Beracha Magen Avraham Farsh the Ghana Maish Nuli Caf Hachaim Chain Penum the cover Shabbos Shelton Mar Farsh speak with Megadim Hi, so the Caf Hachaim we already saw that. That's the Magen Avraham. Vanisi Beli Rabba Shakosa did or Shulchan. No, excuse me. The eriv Shabbos. In Pnai the Kabis L'Ashon Mal Balkain. Yikabitz Biyom Hey Mashma. The Kabi God Mishwazim Lim Shabbos Kodesh. The Magen Avraham Kaim Kol Megam Nafaisim Leishin Roisim Lim Shabbos. Near the Yesham Fimidam the Magen Avraham Libal. The Magen Avraham the Kon the Kabis Beracha Shabbos Kodesh. Mashin Kin Leishin Rabbi the Kon the Kabis Beracha Shabbos Held the Beracha Shabbos in Pnai the Kabis L'Ashon Shem Muchan Shabbos Samokin Kam Tivam Yelechil. Technical machlokes talking about clothing you're going to be using on Shabbos and not. Look at the Machazik Beracha, the mission of Brua, Sharatzion, Vodaf, Kamina, the Magen Avraham, the Kamis Beracha, the Gom Chavoiz, the Shmachar, Shabbos, the Leader, Rabbi Geishon, the Shubushul Hashim, the Gom, the Rabbi Shem, the Gom, the Chavoiz, the Leader, Shaz, Al Yash, the Kamsi, the Gom, the Gom, fine. Also, difference if you're not going to be using it on Shabbos. The Kamis Beracha is going to be used in Nazi, the Rosh Hashanah, the Yishim, to do the Bahini, after the Magen Avraham, Yishim, the Chachila. Here it is. If you're using a washing machine, even according to the Magen Avraham, you're allowed to use it, even lechatchila, preferably, even clothing that you're going to use after Shabbos. You have to make sure that they're going to be washed and dried before Shabbos. And if they will be lechatchila, you could use it. However, if you don't know that it's going to be ready for Shabbos, then you should use it for Thursday. You ran out of time. You couldn't get in the dryer and you're hanging it up now. That's not preferable. But if you didn't do it on Thursday, for sure you could do it Friday. Just make sure you finish it before. Yet, what do we see over here? Another sefer, Shevet HaKahati, an accepted sefer, also clearly paskins that you're allowed to do laundry on Erev Shabbos. May I point out yet again, and this might seem familiar, Dirshu failed to present this sefer and information. Thus, pushing their own personal opinion and agenda, being stringent with this halacha for whoever reads the sefer and whoever just learns from the Dirshu Mishnah Brura, and pushing their agenda of showing that they hold that you shouldn't be doing laundry. That is the way that they're presenting the information. Those are the facts. The facts of the matter is that they are presenting the information as a das yachid of the Or L'Tzion, who's a Sephardi rabbi, and not presenting other Ashkenaz rabbis who are lenient in this regard. That's harsh what I just said, but it's the truth. And you know what? I could say it because I'm right. I properly researched this topic. I spent hours looking into it. And I'm not just another person who's quickly looking at the Dirshu and then just saying over a footnote that they say and giving a shear like that, like every other person who does it. I'm not doing that. I'm doing it properly. I'm on a deadline. I'm on a schedule. I'm not worried about saying the right thing. I don't care. I don't have to speak up to anyone. I'm not afraid of no one. It's a miss. That's why in my own footnote I said, look at the Piskei Teshuvos. That's what I was referring to, and I wrote that note years ago. And when I wrote that note years ago, I didn't even look up all these Teshuvos. I just saw that he quoted a lot. Now I looked them up. I see they're legit. I didn't look up in the Sefer Biruri Halacha. I couldn't get it on the Otzer, but I'm sure he has a lot of information. That's Rav Vad Yosef's son, if I'm not mistaken. They have it in Rabbi Forshul if you want to look it up, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the story over there. You know, that's the research that I did. And that's what I gotta say about this. About the laundry. That's basically the end of the road for us. Let's take a look at one more thing over here. Oh, here's the Mishnah halachos which he partially quotes. Here's the in footnote 87. All right, by the way, we discussed that the laundry it's better to do it after Tuesday because it has more of a connection to the upcoming Shabbos. Shows you're getting ready for Shabbos. Fine, just to point that out. The Shalosh Teshuvos Mishnah halachos of Menashe Klein. See the letter at the end of the Piskei Teshuvos in the Mahdur Kama in the first version.
What does that mean? What letter?
I guess he has in the first version of the print, assuming that he's referring to his own sefer. I'm not sure. I think he is. Okay. Yeah, it seems like there was a letter there. So he said he was worried about the Magen Avraham that who hold that the enactment of Ezra is not to do laundry on Erev Shabbos. In Bezdin Yochel Levatel Divrei Bezdin Chaver Elim King Gadol Menu B'Chacham V'Minyan. One Bezdin cannot come and nullify something that another Bezdin said unless he's greater in wisdom and in number. So even though you gave a reason for this enactment, for this takana, there's also other hidden reasons like we saw. And low plug, they didn't differentiate. Fine, we already saw some of the things that it's interesting he doesn't put over here, like what we just saw in the footnote of the other sefer, the door yikra. Not mistaken, the sefer was that we just saw a few minutes ago, said that the laundry machine might break. Truth is, it's a questionable explanation. It might break.
It's more often than not that it's working.
Yeah, correct.
So even though
yeah.
even though he has this thing that he brings down that you're not allowed to,
Yeah.
so what was his end game?
Whose?
He's just quoting Rav Klein who says that you shouldn't.
No, he's quoting that because some say if it's possible, then you should not do it on Friday and you should do it on Thursday. So on that, he's quoting these ideas as to why.
So he's just bringing ideas.
Yeah, he clearly doesn't hold that way.
Right, yeah, the way, especially the Piskei is bringing it down.
No, the way that he's bringing it, he's lenient. It's so funny because usually you don't see between, I mean, they really have the same agenda. The Piskei Chuvas and the Dershu, they're both just quoting. The Dershu is shorter by nature than the Piskei Chuvas. It's not a sefer, it's more of just a quoter. I mean, technically it's a sefer, but it's not the style of like a book, so to say, that's written. It's not, doesn't have any flow to it like that. It's just quoting points in the Mishnah Berurah.
But it does sometimes come to an opinion. No,
I mean, clearly how they, the Piskei comes more of an opinion, of course.
Oh, you're saying the Piskei.
I'm just saying the way they're both collecting information from more contemporary rabbis, right? From all the contemporary poskim, and they are saying, oh, maybe this halacha changed in this way, or maybe this is a b'mei devar murim, another nuance which could change the halacha of how it's been. That's what both svarim are essentially coming to do. The Oz V'Hadar Mishnah Berurah is more of a commentary on the Mishnah Berurah, who also quotes a lot, but that's not their agenda. The agenda of Piskei Teshuvos and Dersha is to say bottom line halacha from quoting main rabbis. The Piskei Teshuvos is more depth, presents it more, and makes it more of like digestible, so to say, and speaks it out more, as opposed to Dersha, which is just quicker points that they're bringing. But it's just interesting because the way that they are presenting the information is the Dershu is all the way stringent one way, Piskei Teshuvos is pretty lenient the other way. You don't see a lot of times that they're polar opposites, right? I think the Piskei Teshuvos presents it very nicely over here. I think he does a good job because he says, look, you definitely could be lenient, but if you could, you just don't do it Friday. Like, why would you if you could just do it Thursday? So anyone like us who spends a couple hours researching this topic and learning about it will say, okay, now I became aware of something that I didn't know before. Now I'll be more careful with this. However, if it needs to get done, okay, you're allowed to do it. It's not going to be like, oh, I heard from someone who learned the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah said you can't. Yeah, but 100 years ago, they never washed a dryer. So that's a different story. Nisim Korelitz talks about this. I hope that there's an underline here somewhere. Can't believe there's no underline here.
You come through.
I guess I forgot to save the underline. Where does he quote him? Quotes him at the end over here. By the way, we didn't even get into the challah. I looked into tremendous like challah yesterday.
Oh yeah.
We didn't even touch the challah. Deep dive on challah. That's going to be for tomorrow. I don't want to rush anything here. As you can tell, this is a boatload of information. This is a way to learn it. You got to look it up. You got to go through it. You got to type it up. This is the way to do it. Where was the Chuchani? Okay, Parak Gimel. This is Parak Rishon. Parak Gimel. Parak Gimel. Mitakonas Ezra, Shu Mekabs Megodim B'Yoim Heim. If they cover the Shabbos, quotes the Gemara and Baba Kama. Quotes the Shulchan Aruch that we already learned. Aliyah Rabbah, we already saw all this. See, Baba Kama, Pei Beis. This is a Gemara. This is a sugya in a Gemara. You could open up the Gemara in addition to what we're doing and learn about it more. Goes into the difference between the Magen Avraham and the Aliyah Rabbah. Laundry machine. Bizmanenu shemakabsim mechoines kabitza afal pikin in makabsim mechoines biyom hay. According to Nisim Kralitz, nowadays that we use a laundry machine, still should only do the laundry on Thursday. Even though it's not such a big burden, nevertheless, even laundry in this way is included in the enactment. Because any dealing with the laundry should be on Thursday. Still laundry. The laundry day. The laundry day should only be for the children clothing. Even he wants to say for children, if you could do it on Thursday, don't do it. That is the enactment. Do it on Thursday, it shows that it's in honor of Shabbos. You have more time to be involved with the preparations of Shabbos. I think what a makabza is a laundry service. I'm gonna look up the word right now. That's what he's talking about over here. Makab. So, according to Google, no, it means laundry. Ishosh makabza. I think it means someone who's doing laundry for you.
Laundry service, right?
Maybe a laundry service, I would think.
Dry cleaning place?
Yeah, dry cleaning. You could do that on Erev Shabbos. That's why also, if you have a house, if you have a cleaning help doing it, so then also. Says if you're giving your clothing over to a laundry place and you know you're going to be getting it that day, Sarachian.
But this is not like a 9 days thing that you get
No.
Erev Shabbos. You
Yeah.
have to give it to Erev Shabbos to get it later next week or something like that.
Yeah. Someone who has cleaning up in the house. In aid, he said like old people. Or for sick people. Someone who's helping in the house. Don't tell him to do laundry Erev Shabbos. They should do it Thursday.
Wow.
He's very stringent. You see, he's very stringent. He says it makes no difference. It's as if you did it. So he's very stringent over here.
Very stringent. Wow.
This is the Derek recorded it. And he keeps going. So look, if you could, that's all.
Yeah.
Look, he's still going into it more. What's considered a dirty clothing? It depends on the person. That's what he says.
Very subjective.
But you gotta know. It's dirty, get rid of there. Children clothing who you always wash, for sure you could do laundry for them, even according to the most stringent opinions. You can do it every single day. You can do it every Shabbos. Even according to the stringent opinions over here. Even Cholam Moed, he says. If you have a stain on a shirt, you need to just get rid of it. For sure you can clean that. Take care of that. Even if everything is prepared for Shabbos, still be careful with the laundry. Low plug. Therefore, even if you're a guest at someone else's house or a bacher in yeshiva, someone who has servants, someone take care of it, still don't do it.
Wow.
Don't wear your Shabbos clothing during the week.
Yeah, we talked about
If Tisha B'Av falls out on Thursday, you brought this up. You could do it lechatchila even on Thursday night. Oh, could learn out from the enactment Ezra not to push off on Friday.
What does he say over here? Because we talked about this last time about
Wow.
wearing Shabbos clothing on
Yeah, not to do that. Correct.
So,
There are other opinions who said you could wear it.
we did see that.
Or simchas. Yeah, maybe this is just talking about for no reason. And then lastly, for sure you can't get a haircut then. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and then he's going into some other random halachos.
Oh, well, that was in the 9 days he was saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Tisha B'Av.
Says women are also, they gotta wear, this is a side tangent, this is what we learned about another sermon. Women are also obligated in all Vilchas Shabbos, therefore they have to wear nice Shabbos clothing, and they should put on before they light the candles. Should be wearing weekday clothing when they light the candles. says over here, even though you're in your house and no one else is around, you still have to wear nice clothing. That's not what our belief is. Our belief is you have to wear nice clothing even if you're by yourself. It's an honor of Shabbos. Great point. Great point.
He's saying on Shabbos.
Erev Shabbos or on Shabbos in general, yeah, to light the candles. So it's an excellent point over there. Very important hashkafa and idea. Okay, this is the story with laundry. Deep dive. Tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, we're going to talk about challah. Deep dive. It's going to be a good year for the women.
Oh,
Everyone should have a wonderful day. Brachim tov.
Cans, soda cans, or on Shabbos.